Alright, hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in Game 2 in a best of 5 series from IEM. We have mOOnGlade spawning as the blue Zerg player at the 9 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Squirtle spawning as the red Protoss over here at the 3 o'clock position. Game 1 will be posted up on Machinima Realm on March 9th. I know some of you guys don't like it when I cast these games out of order, but in my partnership with Machinima, I do need to post some games up on their channel as well, so my apologies already. And you can always wait and see these games. Hopefully you guys just follow my games anyways. We have Squirtle now moving out with this probe, now scouting out in the clockwise direction. Will not be able to find anything for quite some time. First of all, I would like to say that I have already cast this game, and then I realized that my microphone was muted. So yeah, a hard day's work and nothing to show for it, and hopefully I will be able to keep track of the camera and keep track of the game a little bit better the second time around. Now sometimes I feel that previewing the game makes me less curious as to what's going on, as I already know what's happening, so I try to analyze more, and then my quality suffers. You can see that the probe will be coming up this ramp in just a moment, and I mentioned in the first cast that you guys will never ever get to hear that on a cross spawn, it's pretty safe to try to go for an early hatchery just because of the walking distances between the two bases. Now that Squirtle knows that his opponent is going for a cross spawn, and looks like he's also trying to go for a hatchery, he could have decided to go for a nexus at the low ground. What this would have done is it would have given him a stronger economy, although it would delay his tech significantly. A lot of Protoss players, both options are viable, but a lot of Protoss players recently have really been liking the use of sentries. Sentries are very, very powerful early in the game. They protect you from both Zerglings and Banelings in particular. Roaches, not so much, not after the range upgrade that Roaches had from a range of 3 to a range of 4. So sentries are no longer as powerful as dealing with them as they once were, but they are still a very potent force. Now, back to this particular game, the drone, now realizing that this is going to be a cross spawn, will be able to make it up this ramp. Even though a Zealot can position itself right here, because of mineral pathing, those drones are able to pass through opponent's units. They will still take damage, but they are able to freely scout and just take a look around. It doesn't matter, the Zealot is not going to be out in time anyway, as we now have a Cybernetics core. So Cybernetics core is in play. We do see double gas now coming in from Squirtle. So double gas normally means that you are either going to see a lot of sentry and gateway units, or you're going to see a lot of tech. This is one of the reasons why Protoss scouting is just so difficult to try to figure out. And you do not want to stay in the base as soon as your opponent gets, say, a Zealot or a Stalker in particular, as the Stalker is able to shoot down your scouting unit. But all you can really see right now is a gateway and a Cybernetics core. Off of this double gas, you could go for gateways like I mentioned earlier, or we could go for a robotics facility. You can even go for a 2-gate, get a lot of sentries, and then get a nexus down. So you really need to sacrifice an overlord, or you really need another unit into the Protoss base in order to figure out what he's trying to go for and trying to counter it properly. We can see one probe now trying to run away. It is down to 2 hit points. It doesn't look like it's long for life, especially with that metabolic boost. Research nearing completion. The probe is starting to slowly regenerate those shields, but I think it got pecked one more time. 2 more hits and it will get taken down. Zergling gets some wings and then takes it down there. Overlord now making its way into the base over here will be able to see the double gas. And did he see that double gas earlier? Yes, he did see the double gas, but he's looking for that key tech. He's looking for production buildings, or he's looking for a tech building. So he's going to come in and now see that there are 2 gateways, and mOOnGlade should most likely respond with higher production and perhaps even some spine crawlers to offer a little bit of protection as well. mOOnGlade also starting to do some very, very decent creep spread, but oh no, mOOnGlade going to lose one of these overlords here and then may lose another one here. So 2 overlords are going to get shot down, and this is going to severely affect mOOnGlade's production, as losing 2 overlords this early in the game is going to hamper him. You can see him already trying to queue back up, now getting 2 additional overlords there, but those larvae, those 2 larvae means that they cannot be drones. Many of the times, or most of the time, Zerg is limited by the amount of larvae that they have in the early game in terms of trying to get a very strong economy. You can see now a Stargate coming in and being warped into place. So Stargate Phoenixes and Void Rays are both very viable options. Phoenixes are very, very powerful just because they're able to hunt down overlords with relative ease. Void Rays, same story there, as those Void Rays are able to attack, move, and shoot down units. I think Void Rays are going to be the better option just because we are now starting to see Roaches come out. Roaches simply melt to Void Rays, as Void Rays deal about, I believe, 40 damage a second against Roaches, and Roaches 3 to 4 seconds they are going to be completely shut down and taken down, but the Glio Reconstitution does allow them to outrun a Void Ray. A Void Ray is now currently being built. It is about halfway done. It is not being chrono boosted, so it is going to be a little bit of time as Zerglings still wander about the map. This is two-base play coming in from both players so far, and I expect at some point mOOnGlade should try to take up a third base. We can also see Burrow has been researched, and I really like mOOnGlade for that. mOOnGlade is one of those players that uses Burrow like every Zerg player should. Burrow effectively lengthens the life of all Zerg units, as unless the Protoss player has an observer, he's unable to attack them. And also with Roaches in particular, Roaches are able to regenerate 5 hit points a second even without the Tunneling Claws research. So if you take a look at the production time on a Roach, which I can't see because of the blocker, I think the production time on a Roach is about the same time it takes to regenerate 145 hit points on a Roach. So by burrowing your Roach, you essentially get a free Roach back up to full health. We can now see the Void Ray trying to gun after this hatchery. That hatchery is taking a lot of damage, and it looks like it may get shut down, but there are now some queens now coming over, but with only one queen, it's not going to be enough. A second queen now making its way over as well. The Void Ray needs to back off, get some distance, keep that charge going, perhaps try to take down that hatchery. The hatchery is now down to 300 hit points and still falling fairly quickly, but there are now two Phoenixes. The two Phoenixes the two queens now may be able to shoot it down, but in comes a Phoenix. So that Phoenix is now trying to come in, and now one queen battling it out. A second queen now going to be able to join in, and as soon as this queen lands, it's going to be able to transfuse, yes. And all three queens are able to protect this hatchery and keep it in play. The only real issue is that mOOnGlade is losing a lot of production right now by not being able to spawn larva here and here. You can see that both of them are currently maxed out on larva, but it was very important for mOOnGlade to stay up on expansions. By staying up on expansions, he is able to mine more and produce more units, and as long as he stays on top of his hatchery and spawn larva, that will help him out tremendously. Phoenix is now looking to deal more damage towards overlords. Queen is now being called over once again. Another overlord gonna get shot down. So once again, for the second time this game, you can see that mOOnGlade is upside down on food due to the actions of Squirtle. Taking a look back at the army of Squirtle. Squirtle now moving out. He is training up an observer, does have a robotics facility, a robotics bay currently being warped in, and also getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. So level 1 weapons upgrade against no upgrades on the Roaches, Zerglings, or Hydralisk of the Zerg army. Back here, a Nexus is now, or a Pylon, and now a Nexus being warped in down in this location. Squirtle should be able to get a couple of photon cannons as well in order to try to protect this expansion. A Zergling going to be able to quickly scout it out though. And yeah, that one Zergling scouts out this Nexus and knows that he is not going to be able to hold an economic advantage for very long. Squirtle would now with 3 Void Rays, or 3 kills on that Void Ray, trying to pull away. That hatchery is still regenerating hit points very, very slowly, with no signs of it getting destroyed anytime soon. You can see a Spire now being built, so the Spire most likely for Corruptors. Corruptors a very, very strong counter towards Colossus, as that is the only decent counter against Colossus, as they are able to deal additional damage towards massive units. I believe 19 damage against massive units. There are a couple Phoenixes to try to absorb some of that damage though. Phoenix is still moving around the map. Perhaps they'll be able to get some more damage onto those units, hanging out by the Xel'Naga watchtowers, and just in general giving a lot of presence and a lot of sight. Roach is now on the move. The Roaches have that movement speed upgrade, but quickly being revealed by those Phoenixes, and those Roaches decide against it. You can now see the Twilight Council coming in, so Stalker, Blink, and Zealot Charge are viable options as well. And now, oh, this one poor Zealot just gonna get caught on the wrong side there. Stalker's now trying to come in. Zealot also coming in. Oh, 2 additional Zergling kills there, so the army able to come back just in time, but the Zealot didn't get the memo, needs to reactivate that Xel'Naga Watchtower, doesn't want to try to push back in. This Void Ray is still an ever-present threat for the army of Squirtle, and now deciding to come back in perhaps to try to deal more damage. There is one Queen though, and that Queen is able to shoot down that Void Ray pretty easily just because the Queen is not an armored unit, and also has a range of 7, and down goes that Void Ray. So yeah, that Void Ray also took a amount of damage, or had damage going into that fight, so that Queen no problems trying to shoot down and take down that Void Ray. 7 Corruptors now joining into that air army. That is a large number of Corruptors, and Squirtle has to think twice about getting Colossus. And Colossi normally fall very quickly to Corruptors, but the problem is, as a Zerg player, you want to make sure that you invest enough into your Corruptor army and not a fraction more. If you invest too much into your Corruptor army will essentially at the end of the game stand there looking dumb as Stalkers are able to shoot them out of the sky. That's always an ongoing issue, as we now see Phoenixes passing by overhead. One Zealot quickly going to get taken down. Down it goes, and now those Corruptors are now retreating. One Observer just still hanging out over here, and there is still one Overseer here. The Overseer has plenty of energy, no Contaminate or spawn larva just quite yet, as another pylon warped in here, enabling him to reinforce along this side as well. I like Squirtle's pylon placement, able to just get a lot of gateways. Currently what will be 9 gateways in just a moment. Down goes another Zealot there, as a Nexus is now being expanded into the center location, and that's going to be an issue as this army of Corruptors, Hydralisks, and Roaches now moving out. But in comes the Colossus. The Colossi do have extended thermal lance range. Stalkers may be able to try to engage, and also a couple High Templars. So the High Templars are going to be able to get a lot of damage in. Corruptors now coming in. In comes a Guardian Shield, and both sides battling it out. In comes a nice critical Psystorms there, and much of MOOnGlade's army is simply out of commission. A lot of those Corruptors are now just simply useless, as I mentioned before, as those Stalkers are able to just pick them out of the sky. The Stalkers do not have Stalker Blink just quite yet, but was able to finish that off. And now looking at the losses, 6,000 losses versus 3,000. So a lot more units lost by, a lot more units and a lot more minerals lost by MOOnGlade than compared to Squirtle. You can see one hatchery now over here. It looks like the Stalkers want revenge for their fallen brethren of Colossus. You can see now Overlords may get shot down once again, and now those Overlords may force MOOnGlade to once again train up more Overlords. Once again, supply lock, and now in comes the battle. More force fields coming in, and nicely done. Beautiful force field placements, completely neutralizing the entire ground force of Glade. Glade not going to be able to save this hatchery at all, as those Broodlings are now trying to give chase, but it doesn't really matter. Archons dealing 39 damage in attack, but now the Roach is looking tick for tack, trying to deal some damage as well. The High Templar getting off one Psystorm, but losing his life in the process. The Nexus may get taken down, and it does get taken down, so base for base, trade and trading once again. And now the Roaches are going to perhaps be able to turn around and snipe down this Archon. The Archon doesn't move as quickly as Roaches, but the Roaches' attack animation is a little bit longer. Tunneling Claws, and now level 2 weapons upgrade with more Roaches being trained. Income wise, you can see that Glade still has the advantage, but with this Nexus now coming back in, and it may change up very, very easily. That Archon getting a lot of damage, but both sides battling it out. No force fields that I can see, just Guardian Shield. I wonder why there are no force fields just quite yet to perhaps stop any serious retreat, as the Stalkers blinking after more and more of those units. More Corruptors are just getting shot out of the sky, and now Glade has invested, I believe, too much into his Corruptor army. 7 Corruptors to try to take down 3 Colossus, or 3 Colossi, and now those Corruptors are just getting shot out of the sky. Stalkers now continuing to just clean up many of those creep tumors. Roaches moving very quickly on creep, giving chase against those Zealots. Zealots unable to charge or change anyway, and one poor High Templar out of position, and now High Templar killing his own Psystorm units. Again, both sides battling it out. Stalkers now coming in, able to blink and get in on that 0 distance, and that Stalkers in a very, very tighter ball. Archons now continuing to be merged in the back. You can see that the Immortals trying to get even more damage. Stalkers now trying to engage. Both sides are just trying to exchange their armies at this point. The Stalkers could try to finish this off. Another unit is going to get taken down there, as the Immortal absorbing much of that damage. Archon now trying to battle it out. The spine crawler taken down, and this push is just going on very, very long. Drones may have to be called over. Archon now getting taken down, and now roaches, both sides battling it out. 3,200 versus 2,000, and now in come the drones. Drones now looking to absorb a lot of that damage. That queen down to 30 hit points. Stalker's now trying to blink away, but the roaches on creep move much more quickly, and now Squirtle losing his units one at a time. May lose that corruptor though, as the Stalker's now trying to run away. Once again, another Stalker gonna get shot down there. One Stalker able to escape with 44 hit points. Glade now transferring all of his drones to this expansion here. Not too many, still a couple of drones here, and now trying to get as much spawn larva as possible across multiple hatcheries. Glade should be able to get, yes, a lot of larva very, very easily as soon as he starts spawning larva continually across the map. You can see that this expansion is now pretty well protected with the majority of the army units. Another Nexus now down over here, but those roaches looking to deal some damage may just simply run straight into this Nexus here and try to shut it down, as Squirtle is trying to get a stronger economic lead. It doesn't look like it's going to matter very much, as the roaches are going to be able to, yes, force a cancellation there. And now roaches now trying to just walk up that ramp will be able to escape, taking down that probe and now burrowing. Roaches now engaging back over here, and those roaches are going to be able to get even more kills. Losses, 5,000 losses between those two units and two armies, and now the Stalker is getting in a nice position there. The Observer in the air, able to focus down more and more of, or reveal sight and focus down more of those roaches. Stalker blink could come online. No additional blink, but now the roaches coming in over here, but a lot of Psystorm and a lot of damage has been dealt. Those roaches need to burrow in order to regenerate. They are regenerating rather quickly, so yeah, able to regenerate in about, what, I believe 15 seconds there. But the Stalker is now trying to perhaps engage onto that hatchery. Roach is now battling it out over here. No force field. Psystorm, multiple Psystorms coming in from the back. More units just trying to run head on into this group, but the Psystorm is just simply weakening up that army way too much. More roaches are still coming in. More roaches are still being trained. The Immortal needs to get up onto that high ground. Stalkers need to continue to engage, and now more roaches will be able to finish off this very advanced force here. And only, what, 4 or 3 Stalkers left. The Stalkers should be able to blink down onto that low ground and hide and run away from those roaches. Stalkers now over here as well. Production-wise, level 1 armor upgrades nearing completion, 7 additional roaches. Income, 1,800 versus 1,400. Both sides pretty even, but a stronger gas army by Squirtle. So Squirtle will be able to continue to train up more higher tech and higher tier units. And back over here, the Observer is keeping track of these roaches, as there are a lot of Stalkers and High Templars here. And now the Stalkers quickly already able to intercept many of those units. And now the roaches perhaps trying to engage. I do not know where those roaches can run. They are now deep within enemy territory. As there is one Immortal here, the Immortal could just probably sit there and blast away, shooting down many of those units. Back over here, drones now making their way, trying to mine more minerals, as this Nexus will once again get canceled by Squirtle. Yeah, there it goes. Both sides battling it out. Stalkers now trying to engage. There are a lot of Observers in the air, and now the Roaches just turning around trying to battle it out as the Stalkers are engaging over here. So both sides, both players are using losing units. An Observer in the air able to reveal more of those Roaches, and this advanced Roach army has been shut down. One High Templar down to 2 hit points there. So very lucky for that High Templar, now able to get back some shields, perhaps get some more Psystorm in, and perhaps tip the war in the favor of Squirtle. Squirtle now on the move with these units. More Zealots are now warping in once again. They will be able to charge up this ramp and shut down this hatchery once again. More Roaches now scampering down in, and now gonna quickly turn around as you do not want to engage, but Glade is gonna lose this hatchery if it completes. The hatchery now nearing completion, and looks like it will be completed there. Nope, no, it is not completed. It looks like it almost grew up to be a hatchery, and then canceled at the last possible second. Roach is now coming in, trying to snipe down this last pylon, unpowers one of those cannons, but the army is just simply too large. Glade, with 2-1 upgrades, it cannot keep up with the sheer mass production that we see. Oh, Stalkers warped in order to act as a block. And now those Stalkers will be able to just continue to blink and go after more and more of those units. And now more Roaches battling it out. Stalkers trying to chase down, once again, Roaches scampering away, as you now see more Roaches over here. Another hatchery being placed down, so it is going to be 5 bases, but essentially 2 of those bases are now mined out, so it only 3 base versus 3 base at this stage in the game. Roach is now over here. Mineral wise, we can now see a shift. Glade in the lead for just a moment, but the army advantage is just still too much, especially as the army of the Squirtle is now deep within the base of mOOnGlade, and now mOOnGlade is in trouble. mOOnGlade low on a little bit low on larva and minerals, and now currently supply locked at 154 over 130 compared to 176. Immortal is now coming in. We'll be able to take down the hatchery, the Spire and the hatchery here in just a moment. High Templar were warped in and just rallied way too far. Perhaps taking down the Lair and the Hydralisk and Roach Warren would be enough to shut down all production. The Roach is now trying to get back in position. You can see 151 food army versus 180 unit-wise, 53 drones versus probes. Both sides pretty even, and oh, nice Psy Storms weakening that army even further. Hatchery has been shut down, and now Squirtle just has to attack move to try to finish off the rest of this army here. Archon's going to deal a lot of damage, and oh, High Templar is getting picked apart. Stalker's now trying to get over in time and able to help lend a hand there. One Archon very low on shields, doesn't realize how close he is to death as both sides try to engage. This, I believe this hatchery will get shut down in just a moment. More burrowing, escaping trying to happen, but it doesn't look like it will. Roach is just trying to run away. 3,300 versus 6,425. Stalkers are able to just continue to move back. This hatchery looks like it will get shut down very, very easily. And now turning back around to try to fight off this army here. The hatchery, and this hatchery just so low on hit points. It will get shut down in just a moment. Drones now coming off the mineral line. Stalker's Psy Storm now coming in. All this damage being dealt across multiple roaches as those Stalkers continue to just deal more and more damage. Immortals are getting picked apart, but I believe the army size is just still too much. Squirtle with that 2-1 army force defeating the Roach army, and I believe that that's going to be GG. If we now have the army of Squirtle 5 times the size, and there's the GG. So mOOnGlade losing to Squirtle here on Metalopolis. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between mOOnGlade and Squirtle here on Metalopolis. And spoiler alert if you guys haven't watched game 1 already, but game 1 is now game 1 did go to mOOnGlade, so the series is now tied 1-1. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay. I hope to see you guys on Battle.net.